everyone, today I'll be showing you how to make some graphs on R. Alright, so we're going to be using some data sets or data analysis too from our last video. So first I'm going to install some of the packages here that you're going to need, and I'm going to do this data analysis here. So this is basically the same coding that I used for last lecture or last video. And in here, just to remind you, we're looking to the lean percentage at 20 weeks of age. And in this case, you're actually also going to export a file with these results, so a CSV file with those results. You could make the graphs in the Excel if you wish, but I will highly recommend you to do it in R. And with these results right here, you can actually make your file for the tables too. So you can make the tables with these exported results. So here, I basically did all the analysis again. So I have the mean separation. One new thing that I added here from the last lecture that I didn't add is that I have the decreasing ordering as true. So that means our mean in this case will be set a letter when different by the mean separation test. Okay, in this case will be the highest number will get the first letter, and then as you go down you change that. All right, so the data we exported, it's right here, showing you again from last video. And in this case you can use this data here to make your tables. Okay, so back to the example. So for the graph for this data set, I'm going to run this first code. Group. Okay, so going through some of the things here for the graph. So on the y-axis I have my mean, x-axis I have the treatment, and the treatment is as character, because if I remove this, for example, as character, and run this plot again, you see that I'm going to have some spacing between a few of the treatments because there's different range between them. So you can see our treatment 15, 17, 19, and the treatment 21, 22, 23 are together. So I want to remove that, and that's why I add as character here. For the fill, so basically I want the different filling, so different colors for based on the treatments too, and the label is the group, so that's the group letter, and I'm going to show you how to add that as we go. So for our next line, I want to decrease the size of this plot. So you see it starts on 0. Usually what you actually want is actually clip most of your response variables on 0, and then see how it increases, or the actual value, because it shows you the whole proportion. Sometimes you can be a little biased if you only show your y-axis from 50 or 60 up to 100, for example. So you can see the difference more clear, and sometimes this difference is not very big. But for the teaching purpose here, we're going to see the difference a little more clear if I decrease that. So I'm going to set to 50. So let's run that. So you can see now the graph starts from 50. So every time I'm adding a new line of information for this graph, I have to add the plus sign, and I'm gonna uncomment the next line. So now I want to set different colors for the fields. So now you see I have different colors for the graph. So I set, and usually there is going to be on the order of your treatments. So green is treatment 15, purple 17, and so on, and you can change. So generally you use black for our standard, which would be the 21. So I'm just going to actually change here. I'm going to use gold and black. Here. And let's run this again. Right, so now you see my treatment 21 is black. So now plus, I'm gonna add one more line of code. And the last line is basically I'm gonna be adding the text, which is the letters in this case, but I'm gonna add some text on those in these columns. All right, so you can see that my text is on top. You see it's not very well aligned, and we are gonna see why is that later, but I'll show you how to align that. And actually I want to adjust this a little higher, so I'm just gonna use 8 here, 0.8. And now my letters are a little higher. As you increase the numbers, let's say 1.8, you see that the letters are gonna be going farther and farther. So maybe only one would be enough in this case here. Okay, so for my next line, I'm gonna add the error bars. So the error bars, you're gonna have minimum and a maximum, and that's gonna have to be on your data set, and that's how it is set in my data set. So when I look in my result, I see the lower CL and upper CL. So I'm gonna run this one, and now you see I have my error bars, and you can actually set different widths for it. So our graph is taking a better shape now. One things I want to do is rename those y-axis titles, and that's with the X lab and Y lab. And I set the different names for each one of them. And now you see that I change the name of both of them. I also want to change the name or the title of my legend, and that I use the labs option, and then you add which name you want. And now basically you can see I changed my title. And the last one is the theme of your graph. The classical one is pretty good. You can change the themes. There's different themes, but the classic one just does the work. So you can see that now I removed the background of the graphs. It is more clean. And you can see I have the letters, the standard arrow in this case here, and my legend too. And I change my titles for each axis, Y and X axis. The problem with the letters in this case, the letters are not center, even though I specify to be just on the center here, is because when you look at your data, there's a lot of spacing between the letters, or at least some of them. So there's a coding to remove that, and the code is right here. So I'm just gonna run that code, and I create a new data set, and this one you see all the spaces are removed. So I'm gonna copy this plot here and use that one to make the new graph. And then when you run, oops, it actually is still not center. So let's have a look what exactly is wrong in here. Center, and let's run one more time. Oh, of course. So I change when I create a new created a new name for the group. So I have to also update that in there. And if you create a new data set, you have to update your new data set that is gonna be using to make that graph. And now when you run, there you go. Now you see all the letters are centered, and that's basically how I want this graph. So now I want to export and I want to save this as an image. You can select where you're going to save that image and the height. You can change the aspect ratio. So if you want to make a little more wide, and then you update and have a look. So let's keep on a 600 by 400 update, and that's pretty much what I want. So if you want to change everything, and basically you just save, and that's gonna be your graph image ready to go. Okay, so sometimes you want to do more than one analysis. So you're gonna, for example, here we analyze a week 22. I want to do an analysis from week 16, and I want to put those graphs together. So I actually add the analysis here for the week 16, and those are the results here. And then basically you're going to have to add the week in here on your data set. So I add a week as a new variable, and I have to do that for both of them. So for my second analysis of week 16, and then I combine those plots, and I again remove the space between the letters, and I have an example here that you would run a graph with that. So you can see I have analysis that was done at 16 weeks of age and at 22 weeks of age. So in this case here, you only have one graph for two different analyses. So there was an analysis done here and another analysis done here. You could do the same as the bar graph, but then we would end up with two graphs. So this is a little more efficient, but that's up to you how you want to show your data.